everybody, how's it going? Welcome to another video. My name is Abbie and this is Spend More Time in the Wild. We are all about inspiring and empowering individuals to get outside for the benefit of mental and physical health whilst building meaningful connections with the natural world and with each other. Today we're dropping by with another gear review. So essentially with my hiking videos I'm creating an archive of trails around the world, and then with my gear and tip and advice videos I'm basically trying to arm you with the information to make sound informed decisions when you're spending your money and getting yourself prepared and skill setted up to hit the trail wherever you are in the big wide world. So today we are looking at this tent, which I've unfortunately already just got muddy because the ground is completely shredded up by the sheep. But this is the Terra-Nova Pioneer 2. So it's a 2-person 3/4 season tent, meaning you can use it basically throughout the year. You can take this out in snow. As a 2-person tent, it weighs in at 2.15 kilograms. So pretty average in terms of the weight of a 2-person tent, I would say. I mean, it's pretty reasonable. If you're splitting that between 2 people, it's pretty much a kilogram each, and that's kind of nice. So I say average, it's also sort of on the lower end of the weight scale there. Now the price tag is a wee bit higher. So it retails at £500 for this 2-person tent. Again, you sort of split that between the two of you, $250 for a tent, especially a 3/4 season, is pretty fair, pretty competitive. Now, one of the reasons why this tent does cost £500 is because it is Terra-Nova. Yes, you're paying for a brand, but what are you paying for in that brand? So Terra-Nova is a UK-based company. It's a nice, small, close-knit team of outdoor enthusiasts who have designed all sorts of different award-winning tents now that can be used completely, again, across the planet. And they, produce stuff in a nice, sustainable fashion. Most things are UK sourced. And the really nice thing about this is if you ever get an issue with your tent, you can send it to them and they will repair it for you. So it saves sort of just, crap, there goes my 500 quid, there's a massive snag. Nope, send it to them, they're going to fix that out for you, which really should be standard within companies and organizations, but it's not. So it's nice to know when you've got that as part of your purchasing package. Now, of course, as I always like to say to people, first of all, before you buy something, definitely try. And you can do that through outdoor stores and outdoor shows. There's lots of different expos across the country and world. There's a nice jet plane going past there. This is the planet we live on. And then additionally, if buying new really is out of your price range, first of all, budget for it. Secondly, consider getting secondhand. There's lots of different organizations out there, such as Facebook groups, there's Outdoor Gear Exchange, there's Gumtree, eBay, loads of different things to places where people might just be selling off their tent. Unlike climbing kit, where you don't really want to buy secondhand, tents are generally pretty decent, so long as it's been half decently looked after and it's not molded or burnt away in a far too hot campfire situation. Okay, so enough of that. That's basically the financial side. So what we're going to do in this video basically is get this tent out and run through all the different features to help you decide whether this is the kind of tent that you want to be taking out. Now, the first thing I really want to say within that is I think it's very easy to get caught up in this materialistic world and be like, well, that's a nice looking tent. But do a reality check with yourself. Are you going to use this tent in the conditions that it's really built for? That is sort of autumn, winter seasons, where you've got strong winds, you've got rain, you've got snow, you've got sleet, you've got arduous treks, and this thing is going to be your home and your shelter, because that is really what this is built for. It's freestanding, so it means you don't need the guy lines. We'll look at the guy lines in a wee bit, but it is freestanding, so you can move it around to find optimal sort of position for it. And it is dome design, so it's really good for sort of capturing the insulation. But anyway, that's that. What I've got here on the side, this is the Terra-Nova equipment footprint for the tent. So as we go through the fabrics of the tent itself, what we'll understand and learn is that the ground sheet is the thing that sits on the ground. It's the ground sheets. Now, for some people, they like to use a footprint as well with their tents. And essentially this goes underneath the tent to help protect it and prolong its life. So this would be the thing against the ground, and your ground sheet sort of sits on top. And I have never been a footprint user really at all, ever. But I do see the point in them. I think certainly where you need maximum insulation, footprint can be very helpful, or in sort of really crappy environment underneath the ground. But we're going to come to the footprint later. I want to get this tent up and show you sort of what you get in the main package. The footprint has to be purchased separately. So this is the main package. Obviously it's going to be a cleaner bag than this. You've got the logo and the name of your tent on the front, just in case you can't distinguish it from your whole warehouse full of stock that you've bought. What? Who said that? You've got a little carry handle on the side, which I like. And the nice thing about Terra-Nova bags in general with the tents is that there's plenty of space. There's nothing worse than at the end of a long day, or beginning, sorry, of a long day, having to cram your tent into a bag that just doesn't fit in. So there's plenty of space here if you were to use this bag with you actually on the trail. If we then empty the contents, see this, shake it out. Let's work out. I have packed this quite tightly. To be fair, when I went out with it the other day, let's just shimmy that one out of the way. Oh, that was not very successful. You can't see that, but it didn't go very far away. And then what we've got here is the tent itself. So we have the tent, and then we have this extra bag here, which has the poles and the pegs in. So let's dive into the specifications of these guys first of all, and then we'll get to fabrics. So the poles are 8.5mm Reflex Featherlight poles, the DAC. You've got two different colours. Key thing with putting this tent up is you want to put the red one in first, just makes life a lot easier, and then the blue one because they cross over since it's that dome style. This is the top essentially. So red and blue, and as we'll see, they match very nicely with the pole sleeves that you've got for them to go in. Easy peasy, except if you're colourblind. The nice thing about it is the blue one has a slight ridge dent situation in it. I don't know if you can see that. So that's definitely a way to distinguish them, and well, as far as I can tell, that's part of the design. I'm hoping it's part of the design. If it's not, then bizarre. Then additionally, we've got the tent pegs. So there's 8 pegging out points. You've got the 4 guy lines. Now these pegs are quite standard Terra-Nova pegs. They look like your really basic camping pegs, but they're 11 gram alloy pegs. They're very, very hardy, very robust. If you bend one of these, good job. Some people still prefer sort of the V-shape or X-shape pegs. I personally do, but these are really nice and light. And again, they're going to do everything you need a peg to do, hopefully, especially if you're putting it in at that nice 45-degree angle. So there's plenty of spare pegs in there as well. And all of this comes in its own little bag there. So that is the pegs and the paws. Get them out of the way. And then we have the tent itself. So this nice sort of olivey green, navy green, is that a thing? What am I trying to say? Army green? Is it army green? Geez, I don't even know what's happening right now. The green is a really nice, certainly within a temperate climate where we live, sort of inconspicuous colour. So if you're looking to do some kind of stealth camping, personally I would say it's quite tall for stealth camping because it is dome shaped, as opposed to like a tunnel design tent, but that's just that. The fabric itself, this is watershed nylon. So it's 40 denier in terms of the density of its weave. So denier is the density of the weave. The higher that number, whether it's 40, 70, sorry, I'm just going to do that up, 40, 70, 80, whatever, the bigger that number, the denser the weave. So the more robust and durable that fabric is. So 40 denier is pretty fair for an outer fabric, to be honest. And then underneath here, this is the ground sheet. So the ground sheet is water block nylon. It's all ripstop. All of this is ripstop. This has a 70 denier weave, so it's a lot thicker, a lot more robust essentially, because this is the thing that's against the ground. I mean, I can see around here the farmers have been trimming the hedges through this field, and there's all sorts of different things that this is going to sit on and catch on, and hopefully the idea of the denser weave is it's not going to actually rip, because that would be sad. The ground sheet has a hydrostatic head of 10,000 millimeters. The fly sheet is 5,000 millimeters, so that's again to do with the pressure of the water and how it's going to infiltrate into your tent, or not, hopefully. And then you can see here we just got the nice white fabric of the internal part of the tent. So with this tent, you can pitch the outer first, as it is by itself, or you can pitch the inner and the outer together, which is really nice. So again, if you're going to somewhere that's very likely going to rain a lot and be quite wet, I mean, it is a 4-season tent, looking for a 4-season tent that has the inner and outer pitched together, or the outer first, if you have to put the inner out first, if that makes sense, so it's inner and then you put the outer on top, that can just cause problems further down the line, because if you're doing that in the rain's going to infiltrate into your inner piece of tent where you're supposed to be your little dry sanctuary, and it's really not. So that's just a little thing there. Right, so what we're going to do now, some spare guy lines, I forgot they are also with this, is get this tent up. We'll learn through the different features and leave you to decide if this is a tent that you want to purchase. So we've got our red pole. Going to find the red pole sleeve. We've got a bit of a breeze today, so I may have to peg this out before I get it fully arched up. Where are we? Here we are. Look. Red pole sleeve. Yeah. Feed it all the way through, just like so. And then we have double eyelets on either side. So we're going to start with the outer eyelet, and we can use the inner one if we wanted to double up the poles in really harsh conditions where we need that extra security. Have to buy extra poles separately, obviously. Oh, geez, yeah, there's definitely a breeze. Okay, let's get the blue one in. And so obviously the natural curvature that we saw in the pole is going to sit at the highest point. And putting it on the outer eyelet, coming back around, pulling that nice and tight. It's quite muddy here, to be fair. Ugh, here we go, good. Now I just got to figure out which side is the actual main door, because I want to just make sure I'm showing you the front, and that is this side here. Good, good, good. Okay, then what we can see is we have on the sides here of the blue poles some little clips, plastic clips that snap nice and sharp onto the poles there, just to pull it somewhat more rigid. And hang on, there we go. This is what a freestanding tent is, something you can literally pick up and run away with. Cool. Let's get these pegs in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pegs, just like that. So what we've got is attachment points from the inner to come to the outer. And we want to pull all of these nice and tight. We don't find too many rocks. And what I like to do is sort of do one side and then the opposite side, just because you want to get that tension nice and even across the board. So when I first got this tent, I'm actually borrowing this from a friend. It's not actually my tent. My personal go-to 3/4 season tent is the Terra-Nova Southern Cross, which is a one-person tent that I use a lot. So I'm borrowing this from a friend, and when I first got it, since I put it up and used it before he ever did, or ever has, because I just nabbed it off him, I had to attach the 4 guy lines on the sides. It was very easy to do. I just used a stopper knot to attach them, so they are nice and securely threaded onto the tent. And as we'll look at a little bit closer, the guy lines are reflective Dyneema. They've got the crocodile clip for tension support. Ugh, perfect. Ta-da! We have a tent. Looking good, hey? So you can really see that dome design. And obviously as I put this up, I ran you through a few different features. But some things I haven't mentioned actually are, we have tensioning systems here on each of the poles, blue to blue and red to red. So you can just really pull it nice and tight. I have not maxed out the tension on this tent yet, because I just really wanted to show you the simplicity of it. So it's very, very easy. As I say, you've got those 8 pegging out points. You don't even need to use the guy lines if you don't want to. That's why they sort of leave them as options to tie on. But the nice thing about the tent is, since it's a 2-person tent, there are 2 doors, and that's not something you find everywhere. So we've got the front door here. We've got a sort of Velcro fastening with the rain guard on the side. So basically that covers over the zip, so you're less likely to get water penetrating through the zip itself. Then we can unzip that. And then the sort of door fastening back system is just like we've already clipped onto the pole itself. We have another one of these sort of plastic toggles, and you literally just clip it like this onto the pole, and then it's just out the way. Now, you know, you could bring a clothes peg if you really want to peg that back a little bit more, because you've got some nice winter sunshine coming through, because it does sort of obtrude. And what I tend to find is when you're out in conditions where you might get condensation, so to speak, when you do this in the morning, the water sort of runs down and drips off, and it's not quite got enough lift, I would say, off from the inner, and so it can sort of drip down onto the inner. which is a bit irritating. So I pretty much always bring a peg, and I do that just to keep it as far away from the inner as possible. Condensation is irritating. And then, you know, you can see the back here, or the inner here, with its white fabric, which we looked at earlier. So the inner and the outer attached via toggles. It's very simple, sort of a T-shaped toggle, goes into a circular piece and just locks in place there. So really easy, nice and simple to use with gloves. And again, very easy to attach or detach the inner in very quick speed, actually. So that's really nice. And you can see, just looking at the inner, there's all sorts of different ventilation. You've only got half covered, so half of it is mesh, the front door, that is, so to speak, and then you've got this other mesh all around the side. So what that's really nice is it helps again with ventilation. You're using this in wet, cold conditions. You've got warm, moist body heat inside, you're going to get condensation. So the more ventilation you've got, the better. We can see already, again, from just looking at the outside, you've got this bathtub design with the ground sheet, so it comes up slightly. What that means is if you find yourself sat in really wet conditions where you've got puddles forming on the ground, then sort of groundwater is again not going to hopefully get into the tent itself. So I want to just have a quick walk around the tent now and show you some other features, and then we'll get in. But that was just the front door, which I got very excited by. Here we go. So you can see the tent sort of from the side here. It's actually half decently slim. Obviously you really want to make sure you're pitching this so the wind isn't just buffeting this side, because that's going to be a bit of a sail. You can see the natural curvature in the poles here, at the risk of repeating myself. Tensioning points here on the top, really nice sort of rain pad situation on the top there as well. Logos are on the side, red pole, all the guy lines are obviously attached now, and you can see how the outer comes all the way down to the ground. So again, this is going to help protect from spin drift and stuff sort of going up. And again, rain's going to just run off onto the ground and not into the tent. So that's that. And then you can see again here, this is a nice example of how you pitch the tent. So you've got the inner, which is elastic, and that pulls through to the outer pegging point, and you've got the nice tension on the inner and the outer together. All right, shall we get in this tent? So we've got the zip, goes all the way around the main door. Get that out the way. You can tie the door back with a toggle, you see there, or just chuck it out the way. And then you've got the inside of the tent. And straight away you can see on the other side, that's the other door. Now there is no porch on that side, and we're going to look at the porch space here in a minute. But getting in, so you can see at one end we have a whole load of pocket systems. So 1, 2, 3 pockets. Obviously your usual foreign safety jazz. But that's kind of nice if you got, like, you're with your partner or your mate, your side, my side, and sort of pretty decent headroom. And then coming around, there are no pockets on that end, so you can sort of decide which is your head end or whatever. And then height wise, let me show you what it looks like. So I am 5'7", and I am very, very, very comfortably sitting up here. Like, I could probably even squat. Like, look how much space there is. Squat, crouch, I mean, not squat. There's a lot of space. So if you're a tall person, this is very, very nice. With regards to the porch, there's a decent amount of space. Potentially a wee bit tight for 2 people, if you've got backpacks and all sorts of different wet weather gear to store, but we'll look at that in a bit. I can't believe how muddy it is, really. It's not going to be too clean, this tent, after I'm done with this video. But what I want to do now is basically get the roll mats and sleeping bags that I've brought with me into this tent, so you can see what that works size-wise like. And also, just before I do that, show you this other door. So this only opens not quite the same amount as the other one. It's more of a emergency exit, and you can see here straight onto the outer fabric. So that's kind of like, yeah, not the same, if that makes sense, as the front door. So yeah, let's get some stuff in and we'll try it out for size. Oh, come on, see anything? Okie dokie, let's dig in. So, what we can see here, porch space. So I have got my Z-Packs rucksack here on the side, 60 litre, and it fits but touches the side. So you could sort of stagger your packs one on top of the other there on the side. Got my fire maple stove, which is a 1 litre stove. Full review coming soon of this dude and this one. And then coming in, we have 2 Thermarest X lights here, Neo Air X lights. Let's brighten this up a bit. One's a short, one's a regular. You can see the difference there. So here I've got the head at the furthest point, and then here's the toes coming up this side here. You can see you've got a good sort of foot, half a foot on the end there, on each side, depending on what size, what length pad you've got. So really, if you went for a large pad, you could probably fit 2 of those in here. Like, it's going to be a tight on the side, like this one here is touching the side, so to speak, but there's space over there. Then I've just got a Rab Neutrino 200, and I didn't bother putting this one out, just the Z-Packs sleeping bag, but essentially everything fits in here. You know, I think tents in general generally tend to get a bit snug and cozy when it gets really wet weather, but size-wise, everything fits very, very nicely in here. So that's about it, guys. You know, what is not to like about this tent? Quick pitch, minimum pegging out points, freestanding, reasonably spacious, especially if you're a tall person. This is decent. Just loads of simple features, but they're really well thought through. I think the only caveat to this is the price tag, but I really believe it's for a reason. You know, everything I've sort of mentioned, and ideally if you're buying a tent, you're buying it for life, really. You know, my dad has a tent that's older than me and I still take it out. I took it out for a whole bunch of weeks last year, and it's a good little tent, you know. It's very similar to this one, actually. So hopefully this has been helpful for you to make some decisions as to whether this is a tent that you want to purchase or give a go. So let me know below if you use this or a different one. I'd love to hear your opinions. If there's something you want to see me review, definitely let me know, and I will very attentively, that's the word, listen and hear what you've got to say. And equally, if you've watched this video and you've enjoyed it, don't forget to hit subscribe. Have a quick scroll through my channel, because I'm taking this out next week on Dartmoor. It's the middle of winter, and I want to just give it one final go, and I'm going to shoot a film this time out and about in this tent on a wild camp. So that may or may not be up at the time of this video airing. Have a look. But yeah, thank you for watching, guys. As I say, hit subscribe, join our online community, join one of our wild walks which are running every month across the UK. Follow on socials, share this video, yada yada, all the stuff. Thanks for being awesome, and until next time, stay wild. I'll see you soon.